People around the world think they know Santa Claus, a smiling old man, a red suit, a bag of gifts. But what if I told you that behind this innocent image lies one of the most misunderstood symbols in modern history? For years, the internet has asked a disturbing question. Is Santa Claus an angelic figure of love, or is he something darker? Some claim the color red is a warning. Some point to the shadows, the secrecy, the way he appears and disappears. Others go even further, calling him a devil in disguise. But here's the truth most people never reach. Before you judge Santa Claus, you must first unlearn the fear created by misinformation. Because Santa Claus is not a devil, and he never was. The idea that Santa represents evil is not only false, it is a misunderstanding born from symbolism. Taken out of context, history half told, and stories twisted to provoke fear instead of understanding. So let's clear this darkness right now. Santa Claus is not a demon. Santa Claus is not a hidden evil force. Santa Claus is not meant to deceive or harm. In fact, when you strip away the rumors, the exaggerations, and the conspiracies, what you find is something far more powerful than fear. You find kindness, you find generosity, you find a human desire to give without expecting anything in return. The real story of Santa Claus does not begin with myths or internet theories. It begins with a man whose life was defined by compassion. Long before Santa became a global symbol, he was known as Saint Nicholas, a real historical figure. A man remembered not for power, not for wealth, but for silent acts of generosity. He helped the poor when no one was watching. He protected children when society ignored them. He gave gifts not for praise, but to preserve dignity. And this is important, because when people ask, is Santa Claus an angel or a devil, they miss the deeper truth. Santa Claus is not meant to be supernatural judgment. He is meant to be a reflection of what humanity looks like at its best. The angel imagery attached to Santa did not come from fantasy. It came from behavior, selflessness, care, giving without reward. Even the secrecy of Santa, the idea of giving in silence, mirrors one of the oldest moral teachings in history, that true kindness does not need an audience. So why then do some people insist on seeing darkness? Because mystery unsettles those who fear symbols they do not understand. And because modern culture often confuses symbolism with literal meaning, Santa Claus was never created to replace faith. He was created to remind people of it. Faith in goodness, faith in generosity, faith that kindness still exists in a world that often forgets it. In the next part of this story, we will go deeper. We will explore how Santa Claus evolved, why myths formed around him, and how a symbol of love slowly became a subject of suspicion. And most importantly, we will uncover why the world still needs Santa Claus today, not as a fantasy, but as a message. As centuries passed, the story of Saint Nicholas traveled across cultures, languages, and generations. And with every retelling, something changed. Not the heart of the story, but the costume. Different lands gave him different names, different traditions, gave him different appearances, but the purpose remained the same: to remind people to give over time. Symbols were added not to deceive, but to communicate ideas quickly in a growing world. The red suit was not a warning, It symbolized warmth in the coldest season, a color of life, not danger. The long beard did not hide secrets. It represented wisdom, age, and experience, the kind earned by a lifetime of serving others. Even the nighttime visits were never meant to suggest darkness. They reflected humility, giving without being seen. But somewhere along the way, symbolism lost its meaning. In an age obsessed with exposure and skepticism, mystery became suspicious. And what people don't understand, they often fear, that fear gave birth to theories, and theories gave birth to accusations. People began asking why Santa watches, why he judges behavior, why he rewards goodness. But this wasn't control, it was teaching. Santa Claus was designed as a moral story for children, a gentle way to introduce accountability, empathy, and kindness, not punishment, not fear. A reminder that actions matter. And here is something rarely discussed. The idea of Santa rewarding good behavior mirrors one of the most basic human values, that goodness should be encouraged, not ignored. Santa was never meant to replace parents' faith or belief systems. He was meant to support them, a bridge between imagination and ethics. Yet modern culture often removes context and leaves only fragments behind. And fragments, without understanding, become dangerous. That is how a symbol of kindness became misunderstood. But look closer. A devil demands worship. Santa never asked for it. A devil thrives on fear. Santa thrives on joy. A devil divides. Santa unites families, communities, and cultures, even if just for a moment each year. And that moment matters, because once a year, people slow down, they give, they forgive, they remember others. That is not manipulation, that is humanity at its best. In truth, Santa Claus is not an angel in the religious sense either. He does not judge souls. He does not control destiny. He represents something far more grounded, the idea that humans can choose kindness even when they don't have to. And this is where the real power lies. Santa Claus survives not because children believe in him, but because adults remember what he stands for. Generosity without cameras, kindness without credit, joy without conditions. In the next part, we will confront the modern world directly. We will explore why Santa Claus is being questioned more than ever before, and why that discomfort reveals more about us than about him. Asterisk: in the modern world, belief is often treated as weakness. People are taught to question everything, doubt symbols, and dismantle traditions. This mindset has value, but when taken too far, it strips meaning from things that were never meant to be literal. Santa Claus became a target of this overanalysis. People stopped asking what Santa represents and started asking what he literally is. That shift changed everything. Instead of seeing a moral story, some saw control. Instead of seeing imagination, some saw deception. Instead of seeing generosity, some saw manipulation. But stories have always been humanity's first teachers. Before laws, before systems, before written rules, stories carried values from one generation to the next. Santa Claus belongs to that ancient tradition, He is not meant to be believed in the same way one believes in facts. He is meant to be felt. A child waiting for Santa learns patience. A child writing a wish learns hope. A child receiving a gift learns gratitude. And the adult who gives that gift learns something. Even more important, giving feels better than receiving. That lesson does not expire with age. It fades only when society forgets to practice it. This is why Santa Claus unsettles some people. He exposes a truth many would rather avoid. That kindness is a choice. And that choice demands effort. Blaming Santa is easier than confronting a culture that has become impatient, transactional, and self-focused. The fear around Santa does not come from him. It comes from projection. When people feel disconnected from generosity, they mistrust symbols that remind them of it. But look at the results, not the rumors. Every year, millions donate more, forgive more, and give more because of the season Santa represents. Families reunite. Strangers help strangers. Children feel safe believing the world can be good. That is not illusion. That is influence. And influence shapes reality. Santa Claus does not teach blind belief. He teaches intentional goodness. You choose to give. You choose to care. You choose to keep magic alive in a harsh world. That choice is powerful. This is why Santa Claus has survived wars, revolutions, and cultural shifts. Not because of tradition alone, but because his message adapts without losing its heart. He reminds us that goodness does not need proof to exist. It only needs practice. In the final part, we will bring this story home. We will answer the question clearly and honestly and reveal what Santa Claus truly is and why that truth matters now more than ever. So now we return to the question that started everything. Is Santa Claus an angel or a devil? The honest answer is simple. Santa Claus is neither. He is not an angel sent from heaven. He is not a devil hiding in disguise. Santa Claus is an idea, an idea born from a real man who chose kindness in a difficult world. An idea shaped by generations who wanted their children to believe that goodness still exists. An idea that reminds adults of who they once were and who they can still choose to be. When people argue about Santa Claus, they are not really arguing about him. They are arguing about belief itself, about whether goodness can exist without reward, about whether generosity still has a place in a world driven by gain, about whether imagination is something to protect or something to destroy. Santa Claus answers those questions quietly. He does not force belief. He does not demand loyalty. He appears once a year, delivers a message, and disappears. That message is simple. Give when you can. Care when it is inconvenient. Be kind even when no one is watching. That is not deception. That is guidance. And maybe that is why Santa Claus makes some people uncomfortable. Because he asks for something real. Not belief in him, but belief in ourselves. Belief that we can be better than we were yesterday. Belief that kindness still matters. Belief that the world does not have to be cruel to be real. Santa Claus survives not in chimneys or stories, but in actions. In gifts given quietly. In forgiveness offered freely. In moments when someone chooses generosity over selfishness. If there is magic in Santa Claus, it is this. He reminds us that goodness does not need proof. It needs participation. So the next time someone asks whether Santa Claus is an angel or a devil, remember this: he is neither. He is a mirror, and what you see in him says more about you than it ever did about him.